Cabin Elizabeth, a wedding photographer based in San Diego, serving worldwide. And today I want to talk about some tips for how to be more comfortable in front of the camera. Now, almost every single bride or groom who inquires with me on our initial phone call reveals to me that they or their significant other is not comfortable in front of the camera. And so my job is to really help them, give them tips beforehand, and then guide them through the entire session to make sure that they feel comfortable, because the more comfortable you feel, the more confident you look, and ultimately the more pretty and handsome that you look in your final photos. So that's probably most people's goal. I don't know anybody who wants to look bad or self-conscious in their photos or uncomfortable. So these tips today are going to be really helpful for any of you who feel uncomfortable in front of the camera or feel nervous about it or aren't really sure what to do. So the first thing is choose a skilled photographer. If you choose a new photographer who has not had a lot of experience, chances are they're not going to direct you through the session. They might give you a few poses and then stay silent. And honestly, when I have had my picture taken and the photographer is silent, I have no idea what's going on. It makes me very uncomfortable. Thankfully, I kind of know little things to pose myself, but most people don't. So your first step is really to find someone who is great at giving direction and is really good at getting their clients comfortable. Now, how are you going to find that? One, by looking at their work. Look at how their real couples photograph. Do they look stiff? Do they look uncomfortable? Do they look awkward? Are they kind of posed funky? Are they slouching? Do they seem kind of, I don't know, strange? And if that's the case, you need to go somewhere else. So look for somebody whose work has really flattering photos of their subjects who look comfortable and at ease. That is the first step. Now, the second step is to have a conversation with that photographer, either over the phone, on Skype, or in person. And that is going to allow you to see how well you connect. If you connect really well with them and you feel comfortable with them just talking, that is a great sign that they are going to put you at ease during your engagement photos and your wedding photos. Now, one thing I will say as a quick tangent is that for your wedding photos, it is so important and helpful if you have the same photographer from your engagement photos as your wedding. So that is something that a lot of couples don't understand, is that the engagement session isn't just to get photos of your engagement, it is actually to learn to know your photographer and how they work and just get to know them on a better, deeper level so that you trust them more and feel more comfortable with them. So do not jump ahead and schedule engagement photos with some random photographer and then later on down the road hire a totally different wedding photographer, because they might work completely different. So all that training you had in your engagement session is not going to be the same as for your wedding day. They might work completely different. One might be great at direction, the other might not be. So that is something to keep in mind. Please try to hire the same person for both. It is going to greatly benefit you on the wedding day. You're going to jump right in. You're going to know what's going on. You trust the photographer. You've already worked with them. That is going to make you so much more comfortable in your wedding photos, and is just something I'm very passionate about, obviously, but it's just a really, really solid tip. So if I have not driven that home yet, you might want to rewind and watch again, because that is probably my top tip on this whole video. So another thing to note is that before your actual engagement session, you should try to loosen up. Do not be nervous about it, because if you have chosen a great photographer, they're going to guide you through the entire hour to an hour and a half of photos for your engagement session. So I want you to just focus on getting excited and enjoying it. Now, if you need to have a cocktail to loosen up, whether you do that ahead of the engagement session or you actually incorporate cocktails into the photos themselves, which I think is a really fun idea, if that's something that will help loosen you up, then by all means have one. Don't go crazy. You do not want to be intoxicated for your photos, but if you just want to be a little loosened up, that is a very common strategy that my couples will use. Now, another thing is to just focus on the engagement session as a time to spend with your significant other without distractions, so without your phones, without your computers, whatever it may be. So look forward to the time that you two have to spend with each other to celebrate your love, and I find that to be very relaxing. So you're not going on some audition, you're not doing something crazy, you're not giving a live speech, you're just spending time with your significant other while someone takes your photos and makes sure that you look your best. So that's just a great way to think about it, to ease your mind. Do not worry about how you're going to do. Again, your photographer should be guiding you through the whole process. Now, one thing I will say is that if you are a little bit worried about a part of your body or something that makes you uncomfortable, please tell your photographer ahead of time. If you don't like your arms, your photographer is not going to know that unless you tell them. So that is something to really keep in mind. Photographers are not psychics, they're not mind readers. So if there's something that you find an issue with, please tell them, because if I have a client who says, I don't like my arms, then I'm definitely going to try to minimize their arms in the photos with a lot of creative tricks I have. If they say they don't like their side profile because they don't like their nose, that is great for me to know, because then we will do less side profile shots. So that's just something you need to keep in mind. If there's something that you don't love about your body, tell your photographer so that they can minimize or use tricks to help kind of play down the features that you don't love. And also feel free to tell them the features that you do love. Say if you really love your smile, or if you love your eyes, or if you've been working out really hard and you love your backside, like whatever it may be, tell your photographer so that when they're focusing on these things that you already love about yourself, it's going to make you feel more confident during the session, rather than if they were focusing on things you don't like, you're going to start feeling self-conscious. So communicate with them, that is the key, and then trust from there that they can take that information, run with it, and give you guys amazing photos. Now, another thing I will say is that it is really helpful if you want to practice a few things before the engagement photos happen. So the one big thing that I would say is posture. A lot of my couples slouch. I slouch often. It is just a habit that most people have, especially if you have a desk job where you're sitting typing away all day. So I would say start practicing. Maybe you and your fiance can kind of like tap each other whenever you see you're slouching. So that's something that I do. I want to make sure my posture is great just in life in general, but mostly in my photos. So if you notice your significant other is slouching, then tell them to not slouch. And so if you guys start doing that before the session, you'll be in a better habit. And then hopefully during your photos, your photographer will notice if you are slouching. If they don't, that's really sad, but hopefully they will, and they will correct you so that you are looking your best, because great posture exudes confidence, and confidence is beautiful. Another thing to practice beforehand is your smile. So a lot of times when a photographer asks a couple to smile, if you haven't really practiced, often it might come off really forced. And that's okay, because it is not a natural thing to just be told to smile and nail it right then and there. So what I recommend is take your fiance, go in the bathroom, look in a mirror, and start practicing your smiles on command. And you guys can think of little things to say to each other, whether it's a little inside joke, something silly, just anything that's going to get you to smile more naturally. So if the photographer asks you to look at the camera and smile, then one of you can kind of play off each other, get a little bit more of a smile, or perhaps there's just something you can think of in your mind that is funny or really sweet to you, and you can use that to make the smile a little bit more real and more natural. So my last tip for being more comfortable in front of the camera is to make sure that you have great hair and makeup done. If you are not good at this, or you don't feel confident about doing yourself, which I don't really recommend unless you're on a very tight budget or you are professional yourself, is to hire somebody whose work looks amazing on camera. I have worked with many hair and makeup artists in my life. Some of them are not so great. They leave bobby pins showing, their makeup isn't blended well, or it just doesn't flatter the bride's features. So make sure that you choose a very confident and skilled team that is going to make you feel incredibly beautiful. Because if you do not love your hair and makeup for your photos, you're probably going to be thinking about that the entire time, and ultimately you won't love how the photos come out, and that won't be the photographer's fault. That will just be the fact that you didn't love the way that you looked. So if you don't like the way that your hair and makeup looks, you're probably not going to like it in photos. So just know that you should find somebody who does a great job, who does beautiful work, and is going to make you feel confident about yourself. Now, the other part to this is what you are wearing. So I always suggest to my couples that they choose two outfits. One that is sort of dressy casual, so not casual like you're wearing baggy blue jeans and a graphic tee. That's not something that I recommend for my couples. I recommend putting some effort into looking a step up above what you would normally wear, because you can be photographed in your everyday clothes any time of the year on someone's iPhone. But for your photos, I think it really makes a big difference if you've put some effort into your clothing to make it a little bit nicer, a little snazzier. You're going to be so excited about that outfit that you're going to feel more confident wearing it. Now, the second outfit I recommend typically for my clients is to wear something formal. So the groom would typically be in a suit and the bride would be in a really beautiful long flowing gown. That is just what I think photographs really beautifully, and all my couples who do that, whether they were on the fence before beforehand or not always tell me it makes them feel like $1,000,000 and they just feel so confident. So I really recommend kind of stepping up your wardrobe a notch if you are looking for places to get beautiful clothing. For men, I recommend the Black Tux. That is a great, fantastic site with really affordable suit and tux options that he can rent for the engagement photos and or the wedding day. And for women, what I recommend is Rent the Runway. They have a lot of fantastic dresses at really great price points, but if you're looking for something a little bit more high fashion, a little bit more avant-garde or more couture, there's another site I recommend which is more expensive because it does have more expensive gowns, and that is Armarium. I will put the links to all of these down below so you guys have them, but those are my top places for renting outfits for your engagement session if you're not wanting to spend several hundred to $1,000+ on an outfit that you're going to wear just for the photos and maybe sometime else. But that is my suggestion. So make sure that you trust your photographer, that you have practiced a few things beforehand, that you communicate with them the things that you love or don't love about yourself, and that you have fantastic hair and makeup and a great outfit selection picked out for the two of you, and you will be feeling so much more comfortable in front of the camera. Now, if you guys ever have any questions about any of the videos I'm discussing and the content I've put out here, definitely leave them down below in the comment box, or if you have suggestions for a future video, put them down there as well, and then be sure to subscribe so that you never miss a video. See you guys next time. Bye!